All right, there we go. I believe we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Miniature Moment with your pal Rob, of course. But today, on our very first episode, I didn't wait. I mean, I could have went with a little leadoff hitter, make a baseball analogy, but we went with the cleanup hitter. We are bringing in today probably one of my favorite channels out there today. And I can't tell you how much I love this channel. And you need to go check it out. Andy from BlackJack Legacy. Not only that, but he's got the coolest t-shirts you'll ever see. And I'm jealous beyond human belief. Andy, thank you so much for taking your time, who's over in England, okay, and has his own Monday night show. But I wanted to make sure that we got this in on a Monday, and I know your show is right after this, so we're going to try to keep everything all nice and tight as we go. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the invite, Rob. I mean, we've obviously been we've chatted a little bit in the past and stuff like that, and we've talked about a couple of things. But yeah, it's nice to talk to you face to face as well. So
yeah, fine. It's been a long time coming, and it's a funny thing because I watch your show quite a bit, especially Monday Night Live. I love Monday Night Live. One of my favorite shows to, check everybody out. And I lurk in the background. And the hardest thing for me is not to say something. And I'll tell you why, because I have this happen to me, and I don't know that this happens to you. But I run into this thing where, you're going and you're doing your thing. And somebody who has a channel comes on, oh, hey, I love that game. Go over to my channel and check it out. And nothing throws you off more than when somebody does a real dumb move like that. Yeah. And my biggest fear is if I ever say anything in that chat that people go, because people have done it. And I figured because, most of your audience is overseas, nobody would recognize me. But a couple of people recognize, hey, Rob, I love your channel. And it takes away from you. And I'm like, that's the last thing I want to do.
No, I know what you mean. Obviously when I was kind of like first starting out and stuff like that kind of thing, obviously didn't really happen very often. But now every now and again I've gone to comment on something and somebody's went, oh, hey, it's Andy or it's BlackJack kind of thing. And then I feel like I'm encroaching a little bit. So so as an example, I was watching somebody else's channel the other night, and I didn't comment at all. I just kind of left it on the background. Yeah. And I just kind of sat and painted, and I didn't interact. But it was nice to watch somebody else for a change. So yeah, I completely get where you're coming from, and I appreciate it because not everybody else does that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you were talking about one of my most favorite things. It was Blood Bowl. It became this whole thing about Blood Bowl, and I'm like, I played this game for 30 years. Boy, do I have a lot to say about this. And you're sitting there and you're going, you just want to grab the keyboard and you're like, come on, man.
Yeah, it is tough. But I've been doing live streams for must be about 2.5 years now, I think. I saw a stat the other day. I've done 127 live streams now. And I'm starting to kind of be able to kind of pick and choose and see which things I need to read, which things not to read and stuff. And the chat's fast enough that I don't have to respond to every single comment if I want to just kind of bypass it. So it's getting easier now. But yeah, there was a time when it really threw me.
Yeah, and it will throw you. And I've been doing this this is my 5th year now.
Yeah, and
I've been doing this and. I was doing Warhammer Quest, actually, the old 1995. Now, you seen that thing?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, it's one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm doing it, and in the middle of this thing, this guy goes, "Oh, I love this game. I did a 21-part series, and you need to go check this out." And I'm like, dude, I mean, do you have any class at all? I mean, here I am. It's bad enough that you've got to keep everything in front of you, and you're worried about camera angles, everything else.
100%. Yeah.
And then you got to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah. I think people kind of forget that sometimes. You're trying to watch the chat and interact with that, and make sure the live stream's still going, and make sure that the sound's still coming through on your microphone, and make sure everything's in focus, and switching between different cameras and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you kind of forget that stuff.
Yeah, and then you have this guy come in here. Oh, hey, come on over to my channel, you'll love it. And then you go over, he's got like 900 people that's watched him, and you're like, dude, what? I have no problem promoting anybody, but have some class.
And I think that's a balance, because I've got no problems promoting anybody either, but I think it's like
it's a matter of respect.
It can be distracting, and it does feel like, it's like you've got a restaurant selling some food, and somebody else walks in and goes, "Hey, come to my restaurant instead. Come and buy my food." That's kind of what it is. But it
you're
feels
basically
funny.
walking in. Well, his hamburger looks nice, but mine looks just a little bit better. Right? Come on over.
Yeah,
or walking right out with a giant sign, 5 cents a hamburger. I'll gladly pay you on Tuesday. That kind of thing.
Definitely.
Now, how did you get your? I mean, you're a big GW guy like I am. Okay, so how did you get your start? And this is probably the only ordinary question you're going to get.
Started in YouTube, or started in the hobby in general?
In the hobby in general.
In the hobby. So I must have been around about 8, 9-year-old, something like 8, 9, 10. I had a best friend. We used to go to his house. We played a lot of video games, and his older brother, who must have been 14, 15, had loads of miniatures all over his bedroom on shelves. And like looking back now, they were Blood Bowl miniatures. He painted Blood Bowl. He was a fantastic painter.
Right.
I remember seeing them years later when I knew more about it and realized just how good he was. And it was always a case of like, don't touch the miniatures, don't touch them. So I always remember going to his house and just kind of standing and just looking at them on the shelf. So then we used to go shopping on a weekend, me and my friend, into town, and we'd see these miniatures. So we'd buy a couple of little metal blisters. We'd have a couple of pots of home-brawl paint, and we'd try and paint we'd try and paint these things. It was awful, but it was that was kind of how I got started with it. I then got Hero Quest when Hero Quest came out.
Oh,
yeah. I still have my original set as well. I'm busy painting. I'm busy painting
right
it at the
up
moment.
There.
Yeah.
Did you get it painted yet?
I'm kind of halfway through it at the moment, yeah. So that's been my kind of my lockdown hobby. I've been determined
I'm gonna have to pull mine down
to paint that set. And then I played that for a while, and then I was big into sports. Played a lot of sports. Didn't really kind of go from there. And then fast forward till I was probably about 28, 29. Me and my previous wife had twin sons, and I ended up staying home a lot. And I was looking for something to do. I was working a lot, coming home, looking after the twins, and I was looking for a hobby, basically something to do while we're sitting at home on an evening. And I remember walking past the GW shop, remembered all those kind of miniatures from being a kid, saw all the 40k stuff in the window, and thought, I'll pick up a few bits and get some paints and stuff. It'd be nice just to build a model or something. Mm-hmm. And then it became a kind of an obsession from there. And it was really just about painting and modeling at that point. And I built up this huge, big 40k army. I thought I should really try and learn how to play, try and see what this game's about. So I went to a local club, had a first demo game, didn't enjoy it at all. The guy that showed me how to play was...
Oh, and he pounded you.
Yeah, he did. And he basically made a lot of rules up that I realized all these years later, made a lot of rules up that weren't really rules, pounded me at the ground. But what it did was it opened my eyes to all of the other games that were out there. I didn't realize at that point just how much else was out there. So that was kind of where it started, really. So GW stuff's always been in there, like in the background of different bits and pieces I've painted and played. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole wide range of stuff in there. Whether it's, I got into Malifaux when Malifaux was kind of first.
Malifaux was very good.
Yeah, when it first, I think it must have only been maybe 2 or 3 weeks kind of released at that point when I first got into it. Played a lot of Malifaux, played a lot of Warmachine and Hordes from Privateer Press.
That was such a great game when it started out. Oh. And then it just took this weird turn.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I played it as when kind of like Prime 2, which was like the second
Prime
edition.
2, which was fantastic.
It was, yeah. And then it seemed to just grow and grow, and it went away from what was essentially maybe 10, 20 models to kind of almost this army scale type thing. And then the third version came out and killed it. Yeah,
it definitely killed it because the one thing that I liked was the focus. Being able to take that focus and assign it.
I loved the way, because you had Warmachine and Hordes as well. So Warmachine, you basically give focus out to give the Warjacks things,
right?
But with the beasts in the Horde side of things, your beasts, when they did things, they generated fury, and if you didn't take it away from them, basically the opposite mechanic. If you didn't take it away, they kind of frenzied and went wild and started beating each other up.
Yeah.
So it was a really clever how you could play the two armies together with completely different mechanics.
And it was the models were beautiful. Everything was right. And then they just decided to screw it all up.
Yeah, and it was huge. I mean, my local area, that was pretty much all they played. We used to go to the big kind of like national championships and stuff. We were at tournaments, maybe every kind of 2 or 3 weeks. It was a real big social kind of following, and then it just seemed to kind of fall away.
That was like my second set of videos. Was I painted two huge. I painted a Horde army and a Warmachine army, and I decided to put it on the kitchen table and try to iPad it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how long ago that was. Let me just say hi to a few people. Monster X, Helen, David, Peter, Starkey's Man Cave. I mean, what a cool name that is. Mark, how are you? Of course, we have the great Aldi from Board Game Geek. How could we not forget him and all his greatness? We are streaming on 3 different platforms, so just know that I'm going to try to keep the chat going, but I really wanted everybody to really get a good feel for this new segment that we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about all things miniatures, and I've said it a million times, and I'm going to say it again. Your channel, I'm completely blown away. Make sure you go check it out, BlackJack Legacy. Support them. It's a fantastic. Go over there and subscribe. I suggest it highly. You won't be disappointed. Your painting is ridiculous.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you're very, very good. I enjoy watching.
I do it for the fun and the enjoyment and the relaxation. For painting's always been about kind of relaxing for me. I'm not like a competition painter or anything like that. And I think in anything, you always compare yourself to other people, and you think, wow, I'll never get to that. But I would say probably about 6 months ago, I found this kind of zen-like calm of, This is good. I like what I do. I'm enjoying it. That's all that matters. As long as I'm enjoying it, it doesn't matter if I'm as good as or better than or worse than anybody else. So I kind of feel like I'm in a good place with my painting now. And I think actually my painting's improved because I've kind of relaxed and stopped worrying about it. So yeah.
My biggest thing, and I've been doing it a long time, and I hit a zenith a few years ago where I thought I was decent. Yeah. But the biggest problem, my age, is my eyes are going, 60 years old, you start losing things, and this hand is going. So now you start to compensate and start to do different types of things to try to compensate and just to keep a medium kind of quality. And the one thing that I've always tried to do, especially, when I do things is just get people to pick up a brush. Yeah, and you had that conversation a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was absolutely so fantastic. When people were getting killed for painting their stuff.
Yeah, because the topic for the live chat was basically that you don't have to be great at your hobby. Basically, it's not a job. You're not competing against people. A hobby should be something that you find fun and interesting and relaxing and motivating. But it doesn't mean you have to be amazing at something. It's like I want to go and play in the Premier League football in the UK or soccer. I want to go and play in the Premier League, but because I can't doesn't mean I can't kick a ball around in the garden with my son. It's like, and it's that kind of thing with painting. Just because I can't win a Golden Demon painting award doesn't mean I can't enjoy sitting with a brush and putting a podcast on or putting a video on and just sitting and relaxing and enjoying it. And I think people get caught up in this. They see all the fantastic stuff either on the websites for the stores selling their stuff, or they see all these award winners in magazines. And I think they think I'll never be as good as that, and almost just put the brush down and think, well, there's no point trying. And yeah, I'm a big advocate of just pick it up, just do it because you enjoy it, do it because you love it.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly, and some of the things, first of all, when I watch you paint, I get that feeling that I want to go pick up my brush. And I paint all the time. I'm sick of it. And the way you do it, there's so many similarities between the two of us. Yeah. And, there's so many times I want to scream on your thing. Hey, you're getting it. You're doing it right. This is fantastic. And I mean, everything that you do. And now that you're doing this full time, which is just fantastic unto itself.
Officially for about 5 weeks now or something. Yeah.
Is it scary?
Do you know what it is? Building up to the point where I officially kind of told everyone that this is what's happening. I'd always been kind of telling my community and people that were supporting me that like this is the long-term plan. It's going to take me a little while to get there, but I am on the track and I've got a plan. And when I get there, I'll tell you, kind of thing. And for one reason or another, it ended up happening quicker than I thought it could. But it was that point where once I kind of come out on a live stream or on a video and tell people that's what's happening, then you better kind of back up like what you're saying you're going to do now, really. So it's hugely motivating. I love doing it, but there's always that kind of like you're taking a leap of faith. I've worked in kind of corporate culture for the last probably 20 years, and it's a big leap from turning up to an office every day and sitting in board meetings and kind of working on projects and managing teams that are scattered around the UK to just basically cutting myself off from that and that nice regular income and the salary, cutting myself off from that to do something I absolutely love, but with a bit of risk in it. So yeah, it's a bit scary, but it's a motivating kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you find you have more creative freedom now? You know, now that you just said, okay, you know something, I'm gonna go for this, and I'm just gonna do it my way, and this is the way I'm gonna do it. Or do you find that you're more encumbered? That, oh my God, I've got to keep this kind of group interested, or you just say the hell with it? Let's do this and see where we end up.
I think I'm hugely fortunate that the community and the viewers and the kind of the Patreon group and everyone that's kind of group around BlackJack Legacy as a channel, kind of they allow me really to just do what I want, and they'll come and watch the stuff that they're interested in. And I think the fact I don't just focus on one particular game allows me to kind of to flip off. If I see a new game come out and I'm interested in that, I can kind of take that little deviation and they'll kind of come with me and decide whether it's for them, or if I see there's something new that's coming, I might want to talk about that for a while. So I think I've been really fortunate that I'm allowed to do what I want and people come with me, rather than people saying, well, I only followed you for this one game and that's all I want you to make all day and every day. So I think it's built up over a period of time to allow me to do that. So I feel like I've got lots of freedom. I feel like I can make whatever I want. Some videos will get more views than others. But basically I think the community appreciate the fact that I'm not pigeonholing myself into one thing, and they like the variety. So yeah, I've been lucky, I think.
Yeah, and you know, and you do so many different things, because you know, I'll start watching something like, first of all, you made me go out and buy Warcry. Okay,
I love that game. It's a really
and I just started really trying to get it going, and I got my son to the point where he goes, Dad, when you're gonna, and he lives down the street.
Yeah,
and he goes, when you're gonna get it done, and I want to come over and we'll do it live. So I've been working all that, and the way you made that look so easy, putting all that stuff together.
Oh, I think it's everything. I've kind of I don't consider myself to be an expert, or like I'm not an expert painter. I'm not a competitive player. I'm not going to be able to tell you the latest kind of sort of tactics and which lists you should have for certain games. I'm like that's not really my kind of thing. So everything I kind of do is always around beginner entry level things. You know, there's loads of channels out there who are really high end painters.
Oh God, yeah.
There's not a lot out there that's trying to get kind of beginners to pick up a brush and actually just dive in and try something different. So it was never intentional that I would aim that way, but that's just kind of how things have worked out. And people have kind of said that I explain things in a way that's easy to understand. So I think that's kind of all been little sort of benefits to me, really. Like I say, it was never like a plan in the early days. But I think it just kind of, I stuck doing the things I enjoy doing, and it's kind of led me to this point. So yeah, it can't be too bad.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I absolutely love. But I got to ask you, because I've been having some unbelievable frustration. Okay. I'm putting together, do you remember, it came out about a year ago, Adeptus Titanicus, the Horus Heresy. That giant $300 box.
The big mechs things, and yeah.
But I got the 2 mechs done finally after you know, going back to college and understanding physics and algebra. But I'm putting those little buildings together. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who came up with that? So I gotta ask you a question.
Okay.
What was the toughest thing that you ever put together that frustrated you?
I'll tell you exactly what it is because it's happened this week for the second time.
And I'm wondering because I think I know, and I'm going to find out. But go ahead.
So Corvus Belly have got this new. I've got Infinity. They've got Code 1, which is the new Code 1 set.
Got it up there. Yeah.
They sent me a review copy this week. So I sat at the weekend and started putting together the miniatures. Now, for whatever reason, I took all those little metal miniatures. I scrubbed them twice because I've had problems gluing them together in the past. I bought new super glue. I literally had, I got the planets to align. I waited till the moon was in the right place. I did everything I could to help, and I could not get super glue to stick those metal miniatures together, no matter what I did. Obviously, it's not the easiest to go and walk down to a hobby store at the minute and buy kind of bits and pieces.
Oh god!
So that's kind of frustrating. So I didn't have any kind of super glue activator or anything like that. So I just basically sat just getting more and more frustrated building these miniatures. And I've had the same problem in the past. There's got to be some kind of resin release agent or something that's on them. There's got to be a coating that I'm not scrubbing off properly or whatever it is. But I ended up using bits of tissue paper between the joins to kind of. Yeah, and I got there in the end, and they're all sprayed up, ready to get painted. But yeah, that set, they fit together really well, but for whatever reason, they just won't stick. I can't work out why.
I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't know if you ever heard of the game called Full Thrust.
Yes.
I mean, fantastic game.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember this game from back in the 90s, and I went to the website. And it was still active. I went, oh my God. Because when we moved down, I originally lived in Connecticut, which is the Northeast. And now I'm down in Florida, Hurricaneville. But when we moved, a lot of my stuff somehow disappeared. So I lost all that stuff. So I said, oh my God, I'm going to get back into Full Thrust. One of my favorite space games of all time. And I'm always saying metal miniatures were the best. Metal miniatures were the best. Well, I got it in and I opened it up and I went, okay, all right. And then you're sitting there with the super glue.
Yeah.
And you're counting.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's the most frustrating thing. Then you're taking things and you're trying to build these like Lego things to sandwich the stuff into.
I got little kind of like actually I've got some clamps up here. These little clamps I use for keeping the cables up. I've got these trying to clamp things together while I kind of move my hand somewhere else and try and do something. Honestly, the only thing that would stick was my fingers together. That was the only thing I could get to stick. Everything else would just drop apart. I looked at them; they would drop apart. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I got there in the end.
So John's got a question here. I'm 51. So quick question. Are there actually any young gamers? Oh, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
There's tons of it. It's a good mixture. And this type of hobby, okay, where, you look at some of the people that are out there and let's give some credit to some other sites. You look at Spiky Bits.
Yeah.
Young kid. Some of the people from Miniature War Gaming and things like that. They're all young kids.
Yeah,
and they're doing fantastic content. You know what I mean? I think it's almost like a, like a master class to some degree.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's a hobby that doesn't have that instant reward like playing video games where you put a disc in and you play and you switch it off and walk away kind of thing. It's not that instant gratification type thing. However, when I walk past my local hobby shops. Previously before they closed, they're full of kids. They're full of young people going in there. They have painting kind of competitions which are designed for under 16s. So I think maybe it's not as busy. It's hard to tell. I can't remember that far back. Maybe it's not as busy as it was when I was younger. But I don't see it kind of. It's not an old age hobby type thing. I mean, I'm 45 this year. I'm no spring chicken either. So.
I wish I was 45.
I hope I look as good as you at 60. Put it that way.
Thank you, brother.
But I still think there's a lot of young ones in the hobby now.
Yeah, and they're out there, and some of the things that they're doing. I mean, some of these kids pick up a brush, and it's unbelievable what they're doing and how talented some of these younger kids are. I mean, I'm amazed at some of the things. Let me ask you another thing. We talk GW and Corvus, but what are a couple of the companies that you really have your eye on that are really doing some neat things right now?
So Mantic Games is one that I've always kind of been a big part of of my hobby, especially over the last maybe 4 years. So I started my YouTube channel with The Walking Dead from Mantic. And I would say in the past, some of the stuff they've made hasn't been the best. They've made some mistakes in the past. But I would say that their newer stuff, the stuff they're releasing now, they've got some fantastic quality resins. Some of their plastics, which are now with a completely different company. I think they used to outsource to one company. The quality wasn't great. They're outsourcing somewhere else now. The quality's come on leaps and bounds. They've got a really good sculptor working for them. They've really come on a long, long way. They're still nowhere near the size of the GWs and stuff. But I have a lot more confidence now. If they release something new, the quality of the minis is going to be pretty damn good. And I didn't always have that confidence kind of many years ago, if you like. So they're one that I'm watching quite closely.
And I just want to add to that, because when I originally got Dreadball, was it Dreadball?
Dreadball, Dungeon Saga,
Star Saga turned out to be very, very good.
Yeah, those single piece plastics that they do are not too bad, actually.
Yeah, they did a nice job. Dungeon Saga, I absolutely loved, but I was missing things, and it was a lot of quality control stuff that I was running into. Dreadball, I was missing the mat.
Oh, yeah, that's not
but they were nice and they sent everything. But
it's great having good customer service, but it's even better not having to put it right in the first place.
And I got so frustrated with it. I made this not scathing video, but I said, how do I have the confidence to buy something overseas like that?
I remember watching your video doing that. Yeah, it wasn't.
And I felt horrible because I saw him at JagCon.
But I like to be able to be critical of things as well, without and I think you did it in a balanced way. It's a personal feeling, like it's you're not just sort of hating on something or bashing something for the sake of it. There's a reason why you feel the way you do, and not everybody will have that problem because theirs came all perfectly fine in the box.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to have an opinion on that kind of stuff. So I don't think there's anything wrong with with that.
Now, with that said, when they came around and they did Hellboy,
yeah,
I mean, how beautiful was that?
Oh, they smashed it out of the park with Hellboy. The miniatures are great in there. Yeah.
Oh, Star Saga, I got all the expansions in. Everything came perfect. Some of the other stuff that I've been getting, of course, The Walking Dead has been fantastic. And I've sat there and I sang their praise. But all anybody remembers is that thing that I said.
Yeah. But I think that's absolutely fair to be able to, you didn't like something else, you've reassessed with the new stuff, and now you like certain things.
You can't quit on them. I think they're a fantastic company over there, and Andy Chambers is over there, isn't there?
He is, yes. Well, Andy Chambers is he does a lot of stuff with Warlord Games these days.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
Yeah. So Andy kind of done. I'm trying to remember. Did Andy Chambers do the Blood Red Skies game? Was that Andy Chambers? Yeah, I think he did that. Yeah. So. He's.
What did you think of that?
I've got it. I've got. They're just out of reach now. But I've been painting up my planes from that set, so I've painted up all the Spitfires. The Messerschmitts are all primed, ready to go as well. It's kind of like a much simpler X-wing.
Yes.
So without 100 cards everywhere, but it's got that dogfight mechanic, and I like the way how they kind of the planes angle up and like forwards and backwards to see whether they're climbing or whether they're diving, and it kind of gives you an advantage or a disadvantage. It's pretty simple. I mean, from a dice side of things, it's maybe a bit simple. It's essentially roll as many sixes as you can, and that's really as complex as that side of it gets. But if you're into kind of sort of X-Wing as a game, but you find the amount of cards is a bit overwhelming, Blood Red Skies is a really good alternative.
Exactly. All right, what do we got here? Tony Booth Layton, I believe that is. At BlackJack Legacy, Gorilla Glue Gel works for me, but I do have a couple of gaps as mine didn't seem to fit as well as yours.
Yeah, I normally use Gorilla Glue Gel as well, but my local store doesn't sell it, and it's not easy to get my hands on. So I had to buy the only super glue I could my local supermarket sold. So yeah, maybe if I buy any more Infinity miniatures in the future, I'll have the right stuff.
and I tried to get some of that quick set stuff where it gives you like 5-6 seconds.
Yeah.
Nah. So I'm gonna have to go to Gorilla Glue as well. which is fantastic. But Mantic as a whole, I mean, home run without a doubt. Well, you know what? I saw you doing a couple other things that were kind of outside the box for you. I mean, do you really? Now, I always lived by this kind of motto that I'm not going to do cult of the new stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and do you feel that as well?
There has been times I get swept up in the same kind of the same hype that everybody else does. You know,
you can't help it.
I'm not immune to it. And what I would say is I would never do anything on my channel just because it's new and kind of going to be the next big thing if I wasn't interested in it myself. So I think Warcry is a really good example. When Warcry was first announced, I publicly said kind of in my groups and things, that's not really my kind of thing. I'm not a huge fan of AOS. Right. I don't really think it's kind of what I'm looking for. And then the rules got leaked online. Somebody shared the rules when they shouldn't have done. I read the rules and it was like I had the complete 180. It was like, actually, this is just, it's so streamlined. It's so straightforward. It's maybe exactly what I am looking for. So I'm fine to kind of to reevaluate stuff the same way. And it ended up being a bit of the cult of the new, the big hype thing. But I tend not to just sort of like get my attention switched to, this is something that's brand new, just been released. I want to dive off and look at that now. I tend to I do the stuff that interests me. And recently, because I've been kind of saving up every spare sort of penny to get ready for going full time on the channel, I went 6 months without buying any hobby stuff at all. I literally saved every penny I could to make sure I could get a head start really on doing the channel. And it was really eye-opening. I went back and I went into all those things that I'd bought in the past and had kind of played once and put in the box and not played again, and really kind of reassessed what parts of the hobby I really love and which parts I maybe didn't love so much, and why did I buy some things and then never touch them. And it was quite eye-opening, really. It was really, and I've bought stuff since then, but I've only bought stuff that I've really kind of wanted, and I'm not getting caught in buying a full army for a new game and then realizing 3 weeks down the line that I don't really like it and I'm not going to paint it and I'm not going to play it, kind of thing. So I'm setting myself little goals. So I'm building up a Kings of War army at the moment. I'm running like a slow grow campaign thing for that. So I've got other people coming on board with that. I'm just gone past the halfway mark. I've never painted up like 1,000 points of a Kings of War army before. So it's nice to kind of have those little goals just to do things a bit at a time. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't get sidetracked by the latest thing and feel like I have to cover it to put on the channel.
Right.
But I'm not immune to it. If something takes my fancy, yeah, I'll still go and look into it.
What do you think of Kings of War? Because it's something I've been on the fence about, but I would love to hear your opinion on it.
For years, I always thought, and it was pure kind of speculation. I'd never played it. I'd never kind of really got any further than just looking at it. I like the idea of having a mass battle game with a big kind of sort of a big army of miniatures. However, my experience of mass battle games with Warhammer Fantasy at my local gaming club was you had two folks who were just spending the day looking in the book. Nothing really seemed to be happening. They looked like they were reading more than they were playing. So that kind of my impression of that instantly kind of clouded my judgment, and I thought there's absolutely no way I will ever be able to commit to painting that amount of models. So I've always, it was something I looked at, but decided it wasn't for me. And then I had a demo of it at my local gaming store. There was a guy who said, "Look, I've got two armies. I'll give you a quick demo." And so he introduced me to it. We put the models down. Within about kind of like one turn of the game, it just something clicked, and it was like, it's not complex, it's not complicated, it's pretty straightforward. It's almost like a skirmish game, but on a bigger scale. So instead of, I might be moving a block of 20 models, but it's one big model, really, essentially. So you're not taking models off and putting them back on. You move them as a big block, and if they're kind of defeated, you take them off as a big block. So actually, it's not a lot to kind of get your head around. Yeah, it just makes it much more streamlined. It's really quick. It just feels intuitive. And again, it's another one of those games where I had an opinion until I tried it. And then because I tried it and enjoyed it, it was like, actually, I think I could motivate myself to paint an army, because now I'm looking forward to playing the game. But I think in the past, my idea was I needed to build an army to then try and play it. We're just getting a demo from someone and actually kind of opening my eyes to it. Yeah, it's a great game. It's the kind of game that you can play a couple of games in an evening because it plays really fast, and it just feels quite. It feels quite kind of like straightforward. It's not too complex. Like the rule book is about that thick, but actually the rules are a really small part of it. What's in there is all of the army lists for all of the armies and loads of background lore and stories and
you gotta have story.
Yeah, so they've done a really good. They've done a really good job, and they're at their third edition now as well, which means they've managed to kind of iron out a few kinks and tidy some stuff up now as well. It's a fab game. Anybody that kind of is on the fence about it, I would suggest definitely, even if you just cut out bits of cardboard to the right base size and just try and play through. I think the rules are free online as well, so you can kind of push them around a little bit and get a feel for how the game works. It just kind of gives you a little bit of a feel for it, really.
When you have surprises like that, does it change how you look at games going forward?
It does. Because
I've had that same experience where I went nah, and then I went, oh man. Yeah. Or I went to Gen Con and I bought 9,000 games and I go, well, I'm never going to play that. And then I just decide to open it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I go, boy, I got to start looking at things a little bit better.
It's kind of a double-edged sword because I think what it does is it makes me look at more games that I probably wouldn't have looked at before, which is great. However, there's a lot of games out there. So it's knowing where to draw the line of, well, actually, where I can't play everything. So where do I draw that line of what I am interested in and what I'm not? So there still has to be something that kind of piques my interest, but I am open to trying any game. Basically, if somebody said, I've got this set, do you want to have a demo of it? Yeah, absolutely. I'll try anything because I've been surprised too many times by games that maybe I had a false opinion on or the wrong opinion on. So yeah, I'll try anything now.
All right, we've got a question here, guys. How do you feel? How do you guys feel about Warhammer bringing back fantasy battles in the old world?
It's kind of interesting. I'm not really sure where it's come from or why they've decided to do that.
Yeah, it caught me off guard as well.
Like GW are from a money point of view, from a financial point of view, are making more money than they've ever made. They're expanding out into media with like Amazon TV shows and animated series and children's books. They're writing books now which are like horror novels based in the Warhammer universe. They've got video games licenses out there. It seemed like a strange choice, but I guess at the minute, I don't know enough about it to know exactly what their direction is. I can't imagine they're going to just bring back the same version of what they used to have years ago. So when we know more, I think I'll be able to form some kind of opinion. But at the minute, I can't imagine they're going to bring a new game and then not have a new range of miniatures for people to spend money on. So yeah, so it feels. I'm not sure. Is my honest answer. I think it's. Somebody's just saying there's still a place for Warhammer Fantasy. There's definitely still a place for it. I wonder whether is it distracting? Does it take players away from one of the? I don't think we're suddenly going to get a flood of new people coming into Games Workshop sort of to buy this fantasy game when I think a lot of it will be kind of cross-pollination of pulling from their existing Age of Sigmar base maybe. So
it's kind of a funny thing because you talked a little bit earlier about how, when you first saw Age of Sigmar, you went, what are you doing? Why are you messing with fantasy? And now you get to this point where fantasy, Warcry, all kind of involved, they evolved into what we have now, where it's so easy to learn this and understand this. And now that they want to bring it back, you're almost like, no, we're good. So you're kind of torn because, I loved the old rank and file system.
Yeah.
But I also remember those Saturday afternoons going, okay, page 157. Yeah, I think you can do that. No, I can't. What do you mean you can't? It's right here, and then, okay, move it. Okay, and then you run into another thing. And you forget about those times, and then the simplicity.
Yeah.
When Age of Sigmar came out, first of all, the shock of the new figures was completely okay. These are Space Marines in fantasy land. Okay, what are they trying to pull on me? And there was just no going back. And as it evolved, it just got better and better, and told, again, which they're fabulous at, is their wonderful story that they tell.
Oh, without, I mean, and to be fair with fantasy as well, there's like 25 years of background that they've created over the years. And the video games around Warhammer Fantasy still do really well with things like Vermintide and Total War Warhammer as well. Those things are still hugely popular. So I think there's an audience for it. It's just, you can't bet against them, really. I mean, the quality of their stuff's fantastic. The price might not be for everybody. I know, especially overseas, the prices are a little bit out of line with, especially if you're over in like Australia and New Zealand. It's like there's just no, like, there's no comparison. It's got nothing to do with the exchange rate kind of thing. It's horrendous. But price aside, the quality of their stuff's fantastic. The effort they put into their background and building a world around stuff is kind of second to none. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do. It's going to be interesting.
And when you think of where they're at, video games, books, now TV shows, and I remember about 10 years ago when they went, whoever the CEO, God rest his soul, because they killed him pretty quickly, when he turned around and said, "We're not a gaming company. We're a modeling company." And that was the biggest slap in the face that they ever did to everybody. And 6 months later, poof, he was out.
Yeah.
And then
they never used to. They turned off all of their Facebook stuff, all of the kind of any kind of community interaction. It was all just knocked on the head, and it's amazing to see how they've pulled that back around, really. And it's not like they were going to go bust overnight or anything like that, but they took some big risks. And what they're saying is that basically, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by the question.
I know.
I'll come back to the Funko Pops. They basically, they took a big risk, but financially, it's paid off for them. So you from a business point of view, they seem to be doing the right things. And they're trying to get new people into the hobby as well. They've got that obviously full range of paints and starter sets and everything else. And if it wasn't for Games Workshop, I wouldn't be probably gaming now, I would imagine. So you can't bet against them, really. They seem to know what they're doing.
No, and it's a funny thing, and I always took this, and then I'll let you answer the Funko Pop question. Is that when Games Workshop does this, other companies are able to do this.
Oh, yeah.
So your Mantics, your I can 17 other warlords and so forth and so on. But when they turn around, they get on their A game.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets about these games very quickly.
Oh, I think, and I've mentioned this before on my channel, really. I think what happened was Games Workshop raised the bar, then Kickstarter come along, and Kickstarter allowed companies that didn't have a lot of capital to really invest in some really good tooling, some really good miniature production, some really good kind of quality sort of like, I can afford to pay a writer to write some good background lore instead of relying upon the guy who works in the warehouse to write me something, kind of thing. That injected a lot of cash into miniature gaming, and everybody else raised their bar as well. And I think that what that did was that kind of gave GW a bit of a kick to say, actually, we need to go again. We need to raise the bar again, really. So I think it's everybody's pushing each other, and that can only be good. I don't really think there's any bad games at the minute. That's the thing. It's like every game has its kind of its fan base and its players. It's more about kind of can you get opponents? Do you like the aesthetics, the looks of the models? What can you get your hands on locally? So I think it's in a good place at the moment as an industry, if you like.
And the things that they're doing that really impressed me is what you said earlier. Okay, now you have these contrast paints where anybody can pick up something and kind of make it get ready for the table without too much effort.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so you brought that down to a level. Okay, intriguing enough where you have your master paints and then your beginning paints. Excuse me. Then you have your games. You have these all together, big, huge box sets. But if you go to a Barnes & Noble, which is in America, here, I don't know if you have them here, you've got some of the smaller things, the smaller Blood Bowl game, Blitz Bowl,
Bowl,
Space Marine, some of the smaller board games that you can only get exclusively there.
Yeah.
Okay, which makes it, okay, you have two different levels.
Yeah.
You know, somebody there got real smart and said, hey, we got to make this for everybody.
Yeah, and to be fair, most of the companies are not big enough to cover all bases. So what they do is they do certain parts of the market really, really well. But yeah, like, all power to GW, whether you like them or loathe them. They bring new people into the industry, into the hobby. They've basically had so many people through their kind of through their process who have now gone on to start their own companies, and they've learned from what they learned working for Games Workshop. So many writers, so many games developers. So like Mantic is owned by XGW, Warlord Games is owned by XGW. Like a lot of these companies have come out of that place. So yeah, you know, you might not like their games for whatever reason, but you can't kind of like, you can't knock what they've done and what they've set on the motion, if you like, and on the path.
We'll come back to this, but I everybody definitely wants to find out what's going on back there, bro.
So I've got on the top shelf there, I'm doing a bit of turn around now. So I've got Katana and Deadshot and The Flash and Arrow. And then there is, I forget what it's called now, another one from the Suicide Squad and Captain Boomerang. So Suicide Squad, DC stuff up the top there. And then we've got Batman, Superman, Marvel, sorry, at the top, is it? I forget now, yeah. And then we've got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman in the middle there as well. So yeah, these are just gifts that people have bought me over the years, basically. And then there's a Space Wolf one there as well I got for Christmas off my brother-in-law. So there's a Space Wolf one there hiding next to the helmet.
Yeah, that's a really ugly helmet.
I'm a big Rams fan. We've had a good run of late. We haven't always had a good run.
What's your favorite Premier team?
So, my hometown, my local town.
Don't you do it?
I'm from a place called Sunderland. So we used to be a Premier League team till about 2 or 3 seasons ago. We basically just fell through the leagues. So yeah, Newcastle's my local kind of Premier League team, if you like. But,
what are they doing? I mean,
but they're our big rivals, really. So I'm never going to support them.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't really have a favorite team in the Premier League. My team are in Division 1. So yeah, we're down.
That's got to be hard.
It's tough. I had a season ticket for many, many years, and it got to the point where I just was not enjoying going anymore. So yeah,
I've always been a United fan.
Yeah. And
even though they're going, everybody kind of fell off United. No, I stick through and through. I get a new kit every year. My wife,
you pick your team, you stay with them.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Okay. I order an extra large.
Yeah, they're small fitting.
They don't fit.
No, they're small. They're small. I get an extra large as well for me, and I'm not exactly kind of sort of,
And my wife will go, because she buys me a new kit every year. I go, listen, I don't get. You get the biggest size that you can, because I feel like a banana.
Well, when I buy my NFL tops, they always come and they kind of drown me. And send them back. I got to send them back and get the smaller size. But yeah, football kits in the UK, they're designed for kind of 21-year-old kind of tiny little wasted men. They're not designed for humans. And certainly not a man of your size.
Let me tell you something. There's nothing more I love than listening to some of the songs everybody sings. And one of my things is to go to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I'm going to get over there. I'm going to go to Old Trafford to see one game. And then I consider it a great lifetime.
The company I used to work for, my office was in Manchester. So I'm about 170 miles away from where my office was. So I used to commute to the office. And that was in Manchester. And one of the hotels I used to stay in was a hotel called Hotel Football, which is owned by a few ex-Man United players. And it basically looks out over onto the Old Trafford. So you can basically have a hotel room that just looks out onto Old Trafford. So yeah, it's quite nice. If you ever do get over, let me know. I'll come to the game with you.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll buy the ticket too.
Yeah,
and we'll have a great time. Red Rose, evening all. Just found the channel. Came over from Andy's. Well, thank you for coming over here.
Thank you.
But all my people, get over to Andy's. Hit that subscribe button, for crying out loud, and support this great guy, because I'm telling you, it's nice to have somebody in the hobby that also sees the same kind of vision that you have. And one of the things that always impresses me, and like I said, I still won't do it, even though we've had this conversation. I'm not going to invade your chat.
You're okay now. We're friends. You're all right now. It's everybody else.
But the thing is that you know, we have the same beliefs, and to have a channel overseas like that you know, you have a fantastic, wonderful community with wonderful people, and I've read it and I go, wow, you know, this reminds me of my people, the Godzilla lovers, the Kabukis, the Christophers. I mean, I can go on and on with everybody in here, and just go over, support BlackJack Legacy. You will not be disappointed. I promise you that.
Thank you, Rob.
I never. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, you mentioned about the kind of community and stuff. My channel is all about the community, really. I'm nothing really without them. If they don't come and watch and join in the chats and stuff like that, I'm going to just sit there kind of twiddling my thumbs for the rest of the night. So yeah, it's all about them, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I never adapted to new names for elves, orcs, Imperial Guard. Yeah, you know, it's great for a younger crowd though, and it's kind of funny. And I want to bring this up quick because I know we're on a time thing, because you got Monday Night Live, which go over, check Monday Night Live right after this. I think it's a half hour later, not
half hour later. Yeah, we built in a little break so I can have a toilet break.
yeah. I believe it's a 4 o'clock Eastern here in the United States, 9 o'clock your time.
Yeah, 40 minutes from now. Yeah,
40 minutes from now. So you know, go over, check that, and see what it's all about. You're not again. Trust me. I've never steered you wrong.
Thank you, Rob.
You know, it's kind of funny because with my son, he was never into it until we started doing this for the last 5 years. When he was younger, he was into it, but then he got caught up into EverQuest and World of Warcraft.
Yeah, my sons are the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he came back as he got older because he wanted to challenge himself. So anyways, now all these new names, he's like, and then he goes back and he starts reading the history. He started reading Horus Heresy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why I started putting that thing together. It's because he goes, well, did you know that how this all came about? And he starts explaining it to me. I go, oh God.
Yeah. The amount of people that play those games because the background, the history, the lore is so deep and kind of, I mean, they're like political novels sometimes. I mean, there's so much kind of infighting, and it's much more than just there's all these people from one race fighting all these people from another race. There's a real kind of narrative through that. But yeah, the interesting thing though about the names of the elves and stuff, so it was a purely financial reason why they did it. They basically can't cover IP of the name elves because it's a generic name. So they changed all these names to stop people basically piggybacking on their IP. That's what it was. So the name Space Marine, for example, you can't IP that, because a Space Marine is just a space soldier. That's why they called it like Adeptus Astartes now and all that kind of thing. So there's some lore in the background as well. But yeah.
All right. So pre-2000, this is a tough question.
Yeah.
Okay. Your favorite specialty game?
Oh, pre-2000. I'm trying to think now. I think pre-2000 I wasn't really playing. No. I didn't really come back into it until probably about, I'm trying to think now. When was I playing? Actually, I think I wasn't really playing GW stuff back then. So I've like, for example, things like Necromunda, things like Mordheim, they all passed me by. I never really played those.
Did you ever try to go back and get those? Or did you ever have an interest in that stuff?
No, I think I was playing a lot of Malifaux. I was playing a lot of Warmachine. What else was I playing around that time as well? I forget now. But yeah, a lot of those kind of passed me by. So I did pick up Necromunda when it came back round again more recently. I picked Necromunda up to try and kind of get into that. I picked Blood Bowl up as well and try and get back into that. I've got like Silver Tower down there as well. I love Silver Tower. But yeah, but back then, yeah, I don't think I wasn't really in and amongst the GW stuff then.
Now, you know something, Silver Tower, I'm torn on.
Okay.
I'm very, very torn on it because, you know, right up here, I've got the original. I actually have two sets of the original 1995 version.
Yeah.
And when they came with Silver Tower and they announced that, I went, oh my God, you know, they're going to do it like the old one. And then it was just totally different format.
Yeah, I think that I'm not necessarily looking back on them with the rose tinted glasses. So I took Silver Tower as the game it was really, rather than kind of, I wasn't comparing it to something, because whilst I was aware of it, I didn't really I didn't really play it. I hadn't played it, so I'm just looking down now. So I've got things like Space Hulks down there as well, Dreadfleet's down there. So I've bought into those specialist games over the years, but probably more later, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just well, for me, and look, you got all these people that just subscribe. They're going to go over, check out Monday Night Live.
Thank you very much, folks. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for doing that. And I'm telling you, I never steer anybody wrong, but I promise you, you will not be disappointed. I don't point you some place just to do it. I do it because I believe in the place. And I really believe in BlackJack Legacy is one of the up and coming channels, and I guarantee you, a year from now you'll surpass me by 4,000 or 5,000, and I'll be very happy to see that.
We'll have teamed up by then, Rob. Don't worry.
Oh, that's right. And we'll take everybody out. Yeah. but getting back to a Warhammer Quest, and I want to hit some of these questions here before we lose you in 8 minutes. But for me, seeing that new mechanism, I liked it, but it wasn't Warhammer Quest.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of folks feel that way about some of the stuff that they bring back. So, like, for example, Necromunda came back and was almost... Oh, sorry, Blood Bowl, I would say. Blood Bowl was almost copy and paste. It's the old rules in a new box.
They're never going to change that.
Yeah.
Because people will go nuts.
Exactly. Then Necromunda come back, and there was just enough it changed so that it was people were like, oh, I think I prefer the old rules. That's what I've always played. The old rules are free because they're on Yak Tribe and stuff like that. I think it's a real fine line to bring back the old stuff, which has got like it's the old guard basically. It's the people that used to play it years ago. That's the target market really for that stuff. It's really hard to bring that back, improve it, and not get away from the kind of the crux of it. That's why things like Blackstone Fortress has done so well, because it's not really based upon, it's Warhammer Quest, but not Warhammer Quest like you remember it, if you like. Yeah,
I think I would have been all right if they called it anything else.
Yes, and I think that's trading on the name, isn't it? It's the marketing side of things. It's the It's the pulling on the heartstrings. Like if they'd brought that out as Mordheim Warcry, people would have been really upset, like, because it's not Mordheim. Yeah,
right, exactly. But with that said, Blackstone Fortress. Yeah, I know you haven't got to that.
No, I've not played it yet. No,
but I keep
hearing how good it is, though. So
it's really good, and it made me go, okay, you want to call this Warhammer Quest? I got no problem with it. They're giving me a 40K version of this, and adding a couple more twists that I went, wow.
Yeah,
I mean, wow, and I suggested before they do away with it. I just want to say, listen, see the beginning of the show. We actually talk about this. Yeah, how the pressure now that this is your full-time job. We actually talk about that. So watch the beginning of the show if you're coming in late. Andy really hits on it and really hits this out of the park. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Have you guys seen the Star series 1 to 5? By the way, really good stuff created by one person too.
Yeah, so this is the animated series that somebody's been doing, haven't they? And it's absolutely phenomenal quality. I mean, the storyline itself maybe isn't so strong, but I think the animation that this one guy's done is just absolutely unbelievable. He has a Patreon that's basically funding this. He's doing phenomenally well out of that Patreon as well. And it wouldn't surprise me if really what he's doing is he's putting himself in the shop window to say, "Hey GW, I'd love to come and do this for you," kind of thing. Like I'd love to do that. So I don't know if anybody watches, and this is going to be a complete left field thing, but there's another YouTube channel called Corridor Crew, which is basically it's nothing to do with miniature wargaming. It's all to do with kind of like video production, and it's about they are basically like special effects editors and stuff. And what they do is they review films and say, this is how they did that special effect, and this is how they did this. This is how this stuntman did this stunt and stuff. And on a recent episode, they talked about the Astartes show and basically said about how good it was and actually how phenomenal, how basically with a home computer now you can crank out that kind of quality of stuff, and that basically years ago it would have took a factory of people to produce that. Now you can do it on a home computer kind of thing. So yeah.
Very quickly, I wanted to talk a little about terrain nowadays. Now I saw your video on stuff
of course,
on this.
Yeah.
and I went out and I bought everything I could for it. Okay.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, you did such a fantastic job. But the thing that impressed me was the terrain that you get with the battle system stuff. Yeah. And what a change that is over the years. Now, I mean, do you like the more modular stuff, or do you still like to create your own terrain?
Do you know what it is? I'm
or for is years, it time?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix now. So for years, I always played at gaming clubs. I didn't really have any of my own terrain. I used to take my miniatures. We'd go to the club. We'd use the terrain there. We'd play it, and I'd come home. As my free time kind of became not as free, basically, to go to a gaming club, I started to try and invest in some terrain for home games. And so when I was looking after my little boy on an evening, some of my friends would come over and play at my house and stuff. So I started to invest in terrain, but it's really time consuming, basically, to kind of to put together, and quite expensive. What I found was with the battle system stuff was it was that really good compromise between getting something that looks good and actually feels good on the table. It's not like I'm just putting kind of a shoebox in an empty Coke can or something like that. It looks good on the table, but it's quick to get there. And the stuff that comes in that in the Infinity Code 1 set, the card terrain that comes with that as well, I think is a really good compromise. I think if you're just wanting to do stuff pretty quickly, they're fantastic. I think they've come a long way.
It's nice and solid.
Yeah, it's not the paper terrain from years ago that we used to kind of see. Yeah, the print at home type stuff and stick it to cardboard. It's come on a long way from that. And I actually went down to see the guy from Battle Systems, and I did a video about their fantasy terrain, the fantasy terrain that they did on Kickstarter a little while ago. It's due to release, I think, soon. And the fantasy terrain is unbelievable. It's come on again. So instead of looking very square, like a lot of their original stuff did, he started to build in kind of like curves to kind of old taverns and things like that, and just starting to get away from a very square triangular shape. Really, just it stops it looking like card terrain. He's done a really good job of it. So yeah, keep an eye out for that stuff.
Oh no, I definitely am, and I reached out to him and I told I wanted to make sure I got everything because I wanted to feature all this.
Yeah,
I actually painted the mechs with markers.
Wow. Brilliant.
I had these metallic markers.
Yeah.
And I just, because my eyes and hands are getting bad, and I went, I go, wow, look at this. This is pretty easy. I'm making sure I'm keeping an eye on the time because I want to make sure that we get you out of here. Okay. But yeah, phenomenal job. And I got to get a hold of them and get a set of that fantasy stuff when it comes out, because that I'm excited about, because all the things I want to do with it. All right, listen. You've said it all. I mean, we could probably talk another hour without
a doubt. Yeah, without a
doubt. And definitely, I like to have you back on a day that you're not as busy.
Oh, I'd love to. Listen, thanks.
I really, or maybe I'll even come on your show and annoy you.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah,
definitely. But listen, everybody, if you're not part of the BlackJack legacy movement, then you're missing something, and shame on you. Okay, shame on you. A fantastic guy, as you got to see. If you're just coming in late on this video, go back and watch it. You're not going to be disappointed. This is a fantastic channel, and Andy, you're just fantastic to begin with. And I'm just really glad that you had the time to come spend some time with me over here.
Oh, thanks, Rob. You're more than kind, mate. You're more than kind. But yeah, thanks very much for the invite, and thank you to your awesome community for putting up with my ramblings for an hour as well.
Oh no, it was fantastic, and like I said, that's what we're here to do. Miniature Moments. Join us next week, as always. Make sure you like and subscribe here at Rob's Tabletop World, and hey, you damn better like and subscribe at Monday Night Live. That's coming up real quick in 1/2 hour. So we're going to get off here so he can get prepared for that. I'm going to get out of his way. And until next time, for Andy and myself, it's your old pal Rob saying, we'll see you soon.